Good evening. We'll call the meeting of the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission to order. And we'll ask for roll call.
Okay. You said Carol's excused?
She's excused.
Okay.
Correct.
And Larry is present, and Rick is present, and Guy is present, and Jamie is present, and perhaps Bird will be here shortly. Jim was present.
Yes,
And then Lisa is perhaps out of town, and then Peter is excused or absent.
Peter was excused.
Okay. Hi. Things like that. Oh, and I'm for my presence. I think we've got everybody. So we have a quorum.
Okay, great. We'll start with the land acknowledgements. As we gather today, we acknowledge that Eureka, California is ancestral territory of the Wiyot people. We honor all indigenous people, territories, and sovereign governments that share governance within Humboldt County, California. We gather with respect and gratitude to these indigenous people. We thank and honor the indigenous caretakers of this land who continue to cherish and protect it. Their elders have instructed the young to consider the 7 generations ahead as they continue to protect the rights of the land and all people who live on it. We encourage all to align with and follow the lead of local indigenous communities as they steward the land and protect all of its natural resources. We'll have a moment of silence. Okay, at this time, we'd ask if there are any agenda adjustments. Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the December 5th meeting, which was the last time we met as a regular Human Rights Commission.
I'll make a motion for approve.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by raising your hand. It's unanimously approved. Okay. Because we don't have Carol with us tonight, I did have had an occasion to check into our banking, and our balance is $614.92 at the moment. And I don't have an update on the county account balance. Okay. At this time, I'd like to welcome our guest speaker for the evening, Tina Taylor. And I assume you have somebody to join you?
I do.
Okay, well, we can certainly offer you another chair so you can both sit side by side.
She's fine. I'm good.
Okay. Would you want to introduce her?
Yes. Hold on just a second. All right. I'm sorry. Okay. For those folks that are online, I am going. Sharing is not turned on. The request has been sent. Do you have access to an email or something, Jim?
Yeah, it's a pop-up.
Should have done it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, good evening, everybody. I am Tina Taylor, and it is an honor for me to be here. I see faces I don't know and faces I do know, and so I thank the commission for having me here. I am here with my boss and confidant and my biggest cheerleader, Amanda Colgrove, and we are both from United Indian Health. And it is an honor to be here. I don't know if Jim or Larry have told you, but my father used to sit in Jim's position. And so more than the honor of being able to present 988 to you, is being able to come back here as I presented many times here and on a topic of human trafficking, but tonight I get to present to you another topic, and that is 988. Oh, it's on automatic. Okay, so I work for United Indian Health as a 988 tribal response advocate. A lot of people are like, what's 988? So that's what I'm here to tell you. 988, let me give you the history of it. So 988 was originally, in 2001, Congress gave funding for there to be a 10-digit number. It was an 800 number. Hi, Bird, you're just in time. And so in 2001, Congress approved funding for the 800 number, which is a crisis and suicide hotline number. In 2005, it was actually established. And then in 2018, there began to be talks about possibly shortening the number to a 988 number. Actually, they didn't actually have which number, but they wanted to shorten it. And then they decided that in 2018, later that year, that yes, they were going to go with 988. And it took from 2018, it's on automatic. It's fine. Everything's fine. So in 2018, they actually decided to launch 988, and they said in 2022 of July 16, 2022, 988 actually became a nationwide number. So I know for me, if I was in a crisis, it would be difficult for me to remember a 10-digit number, right? So 988 is not to be confused with 911. It's similar to 211. So there are 200 call centers all throughout the nation, and they have 247 different languages. We'll talk about the resources on a pace. So prior to, in 2022, when you would call 988, it gives you options. The first option is if you're a veteran, please press option 1, and then you'll be routed to an all-veteran call center. Then they implemented in 2006, if you speak Spanish, please press option 2, and then you would be routed to an all-Spanish call center. Although there are 247 different languages, I have no idea where that option is for other languages. It's not there yet. Then later on in 2013, they implemented chat, and they also implemented the LGBTQ plus line. So if you identify with that, then you'll be routed to that whole line. Go ahead to the next one. So we saw 988 saw that tribal implementation needed to be a part. So in Washington, they have the Strong Heart line, similar to 988, right? And their options are the same. If you're a veteran, press option 2. If you speak Spanish, press option 3. If you're LGBTQ, press option 4. In Washington, they said if you're Native American, press option 4, not 3, 4, right? And so then you're routed to an all-Native call center. Unfortunately, right now, California doesn't have that. However, United Indian Health is in close works with policymakers to bring option 4 to California, because we've seen that there was a need for culturally sensitive call centers, people who identify with other Native Americans. And not only that, but there are things that culturally maybe you don't talk about, maybe you don't bring up, right? And so right now the cultural adoption piece is being figured out, it's being mapped out for here in California. And there has been regular talks with the 988 funders, the people who run the call centers for our area specifically. If you were to call 988, it would be routed down to a Sacramento area to a call center called Well Space. In California, the primary call centers are WellSpace and DD Hirsch. So right now, 988 is engaging tribal leaders. There's been many people, including Carol Larson, at the table, trying to figure out how to make this work so that California could have a press option for it. Go to the next. So some of the gaps here. Some of the gaps that have happened with 988 is that there's been limited access. So right now I'm doing outreach in places like Witchpeck, Smith River, and Smith River, they're a little better positioned than places like Witchpeck. So you go to Witchpeck and people are like, call 988. We don't have any field service out here, right? So there's limited access, but more importantly, there's been a historical distrust in anything. That's fine. It's fine. It's on automatic, and I don't know what's going on. Historical mistrust of anyone who's not native, right? All the more reason that we need to be in collaboration, trying to get the option to the 988 line. There's also been an information gap. Most of you know, not all of you, that I've been in the anti-trafficking arena for a very long time. And there are still people that when I tell them trafficking is happening here in Humboldt County, they're like, are you sure that's happening here? Yes. And I've been educating people and bringing that information to them for many years, more years than I have fingers. It is 100% okay to lie. And people are still saying, are this trafficking happening here? So with that being said, I have stood in front of people who have said, I was just recently down in New Mexico with a room full of tribal judges, and there was 29 individuals in there, and only 2 people, excuse me, had heard about 988. So, yeah. So my primary, the information gap is huge. So right now, my primary job for United Indian Health is to just talk about 988. And for those of you that know me, you know that's my jam, right? And so I'm trying to get the word out there that 988 exists, because unfortunately, among the Native American community, the suicide rates are higher than most any other race that there is, right? And so if they know about this tool, because I don't know if if somebody's anything like me, it's awful small. And to go to somebody and say you're struggling with something, there's stigma behind that, right? But how much easier would it be if you're able to call 988 and get somebody who can talk you down and talk about your problems and not know you? They don't ever have to see you. They don't ever have to know you, right? They'll be able to talk you down. And then in September, geo-routing rolled out. So what is geo-routing? So for instance, my phone is a 760 area code number, right? So when I would call prior to September, my phone call would be routed down to Southern California, right? Because that was my area code. However, for those people that send their kids off to school, or somebody like me who is transplanted here to Humboldt County, if I call 988, then what's going to happen is they're going to ping my call off the towers. They're not going to know exactly where I am, but they're going to know, oh, this caller is in Humboldt County. And so therefore, they'll be able to route me after they've talked me off the ledge, and I'm now in a stable place. They're going to route me to resources here in Humboldt County that are conducive to the needs that I've identified for those individuals in the call center. Am I missing anything, boss?
I think that sounds great.
Yeah. Is there any questions?
I have one. A couple of days ago, I had a reason to call 211. And it was about a person who was living, this is appropriate to what you were just talking about, was living in Chico. And I knew right away when I got somebody on the line, they were not local. And are they going to, is this geo routing something that's going to be taking place with all these helplines?
So there's several answers to that question. First of all, when California gets an option 4, if you're Native American, press option 4, then that'll be routed to an all-native call center. And someone in that call center would be like, hi, my name is Katrina. I'm with the Confederated Tribes of Siletz, Oregon, right? And then they'll be like, oh, what's up, Stan? Well, maybe not. Anyway, and so that's one thing. They are supposed to be implementing another call center closer up here. Right now, our closest call center is in Sacramento, right? But they know that, okay, this person with geo-routing is in Humboldt County, so I can refer them. They identified as a native, although we don't have a press option 4 yet. I know that United Indian Health can help them. I know that Two Feathers can help them if they're a youth, right? I know that, oh, maybe they live in Hoopa. Oh, maybe they can go up there to, oh, no, come out, yeah, thanks. I was like, to come out, right? So those resources are available like that. We don't have anything closer than Sacramento right now yet. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Bird.
I'm sorry I was late. Blame sheet.
I'm always so happy to see you.
How is this funded?
There's lots of money going on right now. And I don't know that answer.
The part that we're funded under is SAMHSA.
I'm sorry.
The part that we're funded under is SAMHSA. It's a SAMHSA grant it's a federal grant. It's a mental health,
Substance and mental health.
Yeah.
substance use, mental health, something SA.
So it is federal funded.
It's federally funded ish, right? We're kind of paused right now.
So it's really up in the air then
It is.
at the moment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm. We have a couple suicide prevention grants, particularly with SAMHSA, so the funding is frozen still. Thank you.
Yes.
How far is the word getting out in the communities? What's in the schools, the tribes? What's
So let me share that with you. The whole reason in front of you today is because I had made a call to Rex and asked him if I could set up in front of the courthouse. And he was like, it's free game. Go ahead. Right. So I was sitting out there and I happened to see Jim walk by and he was like, you should come present to the commission. It's like, yeah, I should. And so it's people like me who are trying to get out. I've been to Seroptimus. I go to every clinic once a week on Tuesday. I'm in every clinic that we have, every opportunity that I can get. Larry, you know me, you know that talking is my thing, right? So that's my primary job right now is to get the word out about 988. And I'll tell you that I'm really passionate about knowing what I advocate for. And so I have to make calls to the phone, to the 988 line, right? At first it was a little rocky, Scott, right? So I did that because I don't want to advocate for something that I don't know anything about.
I would say like Tina's done a magnificent job. She's just been hitting the road, like getting out, getting everywhere. We've known about this through previous grants since they were first scheduled to release in 2022. And so we've had information out there. It's been at our outreach tables when we go to our clinics. We put up a billboard in Del Norte. And yet still people don't know about it. So even though like we've kind of been around for a little bit, it's amazing to me how many people still have no idea. And so every time Tina comes back, she's like, I was telling these people and only 2 people knew. I was like, oh, that's 2 more than
Out of curiosity, before I came here, how many of you had heard about 988?
Oh, yay.
Yeah. So 4 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4 out of 10 of you, right?
So it's been like 2 years at this point of making, but she's awesome with
And
it.
here's the thing, for those of you that know I do anti-trafficking work and trying to educate people about the lures of trafficking here in our county. I get more people who say they know about it now, but still people who don't know about it, right? I get less people when I'm telling them about 988. It's kind of like when I first started spreading the word about trafficking, right? People are like, what? That's happening in Humboldt? And now I get that less. I do get it still, but less. And so my primary position now with 988 is getting that word out there, letting people know that it exists and that it's a tool for now-ish.
And it's also, yeah, sorry, I mean.
You first and then you, Jim.
I do a lot of outreach. Do you do outreach in schools, like high schools around the county?
I have, but I would love to get in more. You got a link for me?
I do. You may have already done it one at AR. I don't make a lot of their meetings like classes, but if you message the school, I can give you the email of schedules them. You can come in the whole school.
I would love to. I would absolutely love to. Matter of fact, here while you're talking and I answer Jim, here, take my information down and all you have to do is scan me. There you go.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you. Jim.
Outreach, we are reactivating our Facebook page.
Uh-huh.
And if you could provide a single slide that kind of says all the public needs to know, I'm sure we would be glad to put it on our Facebook page.
Can I add a comment to that? Just a thought. It might be nice to like add a little plug for it at the end of our hotline. No,
Oh, the message?
like when people call the message line,
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
if you're calling for this reason or experiencing this,
Yes.
988 is a resource.
Do you have an iPhone?
I don't have the.
Take it.
Have you said it? You have requirements to it?
Well, I don't have a card on me. That's her card.
I do.
But you do have my card. That's my, yeah, excellent. I would
I was
love
gonna say it's important when we share out 98 too to know it's not just when someone's in a suicide ideation state. It really can be any sort of heightened emotion, or we're trying to do prevention too, like upstream prevention. So it's not just, you don't have to wait until you're at that point. It can be anywhere along the line. It can be a bad day. It can be, especially when we're talking with high schoolers, it can be they had a bad, a breakup, a bad test, like anything where you're just kind of dysregulated a little bit. Feel free to call in anytime, and we do encourage that. It's not everything's on fire. I mean, it is that too, but it can be anywhere along the way just to get resources for yourself.
Also, we are QPR certified, question, persuade, refer, kind of like suicide prevention. So we'd love to do that too. And if you guys know anybody also, yeah. I can switch hats now if you want to ask me anything about trafficking.
Well, you've kind of hinted at how things are going. How are things going generally?
So we still have trafficking going here. There was a long pause in the phone ringing. For those of you that don't know, I run a hotline that is specifically here in Humboldt County. And I ran that hotline because as a survivor myself, I understood that if you call the 800 number, that help seems so far away, right? And I needed something that was, I wanted to have something that was local. Thanks to the help of the commission and Sir Optimus International, the hotline was launched about 5 years ago. And it has been manned up until 8 months ago, 24 hours a day. I say 8 months ago because I was doing this work, but I had bills I needed to pay. And so I had a really great offer to work at United Indian Health. And so now the hotline is answered outside of my 8 to 5 hours, right? Or on lunch or on a break. But I do the best that I can to keep them separate, although they intertwine, right? There's a huge intersection for both of the positions that I do. I am going to Paula the end of this month to be on a panel for the MMIW and to be a speaker. And I'm also going to present 988 and do tabling there. But one of the things that I have said often, and I know that you three have heard me say, is that you can't talk about human trafficking without talking about MMIW, right? Like they go hand in hand. And I'm positive on it. And I'm so positive that I probably got my left arm on. With that being said, I just had a call from an agency last week an underage person that they were looking for counseling for. So I have those resources, and majority of the individuals who are providing counseling with that specialty, and having that specializing in trafficking or sexual assault, are doing it for free for anybody that I refer them to them, right? There are some that are taking small stipends, but they're doing a great job. I also have recently been able to help 2 survivors get tattoo removals that their trafficker had put on them. And there's an individual who has donated her time to do that tattoo removal.
One thing I would like to share with you is that after a recent phone call, we realized that the resource cards that we have did not have a local phone number on it, which it will now.
So I must have been doing my job really well, getting that number out there, because now that I work as a service provider for an agency, you don't know how many resource papers that I have seen with all the numbers, and not one of them has had the hotline on it that I run. So I don't know what I was doing wrong, but I really thought I was getting the word out there about it. And before I had time to answer it all the time, so there shouldn't been no reason why it's not on any resource cards. I could see if somebody was hesitant to put it on there now, because I do work at 8 to 5, right? But it doesn't mean that I can't answer it. And my boss is super understanding. If I tell her, hey, I need to step out, she says, go ahead, she's really understanding that way. But I also have to make sure I have boundaries, because that is my job, right? Well,
that phone number is, I'm assured, is going to be on the next version of these resource cards, along with replacing a non-working national.
yeah, it's 888-37-37-888. It's super simple.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
National Human Trafficking Hotline.
we deal with the bureaucracy too, so
Yeah.
we'll wait and see how it turns out.
Any more questions? Thanks for having me and my boss. We are honored to be here.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, and please, if you could work on something we can put on Facebook.
I will, about 988.
Yes.
I definitely will do that.
The county page too, maybe more sense.
We might be able to get it there too. Yeah.
We have that on Facebook page too, so we can probably share it out, like what we have, share it to you, and then you guys can reshare.
We could select what we wanted to use. Yeah, that's fine too.
Okay.
Sure.
Hold on just a second.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead with the next segment of our agenda. First is mission communications and chair notes. I wanted to be sure to mention that in the last couple of days, I've had a flurry of message line calls, and I want to assure the public, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
I want to assure the public that although we care about your concerns, there isn't always a direct action that the Human Rights Commission can take. I'll explain in a little more detail when we get to the message line report. But
Thank you, everybody.
we have our boundaries as dictated by our sponsorship by the County of Humboldt. Did want to mention the recent immigration themed meeting that we had in January. That was extremely well attended, and I will be filling us in a little bit more on that. No particular email or regular mail to report on. Next item would be for public comment on non-agenda items. I'm sorry.
Commissioner announcements?
Yes, I did that last time too. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to remind everybody that February is Black Liberation Month. And they have a, history project going on. I wasn't gonna print it out for everybody, but I'll send it around because there's some things on the calendar that you might be interested in seeing. So I'll just send it, let everybody take a look at it. I think it's something we should acknowledge in some way that this is Black History Month.
All right, any other commissioner communications? All right, now I'll move on to public comment on non-agenda items. I think we have none. We have nobody in the on the Zoom at the moment, and other than our guests over here, I don't think we have anything. So we'll move on from there. Next item would be standing committee reports.
Excuse me, you have a public comment on agenda items. Something else that some reason.
That's true. Although it's the same outcome, I think. Is there any public comment on agenda items to make? Okay. All right, next item would be standing committee reports, and one of those would be correctional facilities liaison report. Claire.
Well, it's definitely, we're at a kind of an impasse. I think probably because of some really critical staffing concern and conditions of the jail, we are not getting phone calls in any kind of a manner that we can deal with at this point. We've asked at this point to have them remove our phone number from their boards until we can establish a new method of contact with the inmates. Jim and I are going to be meeting on Monday with the jail administration to try to work out some kind of a process to reinstate our communication. Except I wanted to kind of throw this out there is that in order for us to really work effectively in our service to the jail, it has to be more than me. We need someone that's willing to deal with the she inmates. And I need a backup too, in case something like ripe old age happens. And because again, once we get it back in place, then there's a dependency that, and we really need to, work with. Any calls that come in now until, we get something established, get their names to me, and I'll try to get back to them once we have a system in place. There's, as I'm sure, all now know pretty much you handle calls from the jail. There's not a lot that we can do for the inmates. We can't provide legal support, referral. So, a lot of say, well, why are we doing this? And actually there's a lot of inmates that comes, oh, you can't help me out. You can't get me out of here. Goodbye. And there is, I've found, and we've been doing this. I've personally been doing this since 2006. And the jail, I'm sure you all know, they're full of poor people. If you got money, if you're middle class or above, you're not in that. And so, the system of justice that we deal with is really out of whack. And 60 to 70% of those inmates in there are waiting for something to happen. They haven't been, their court appointments or their transfers to other facilities, they haven't happened. So there's incredible amount of angst in there, and there's incredible issues with the lack of sufficient number of jailers. So Yeah, and again, just the fact that we're here listening. And that we can actually, we've got some experience, we've got the knowledge of what's in the community, so we can make referral. And, the vast majority of the problems that they have or they are concerned about are often about, the legal issues or the lack of attorneys, being able to access attorneys. And, there's absolutely nothing that we, can do about that, or actually anybody at this point can do about that. So what I try to emphasize is, what can you do to get out? What can you do? Get your, community, your support group, send letters to your public defender. So your file get, from the top to the, to the bottom, that you could get access, because there's just so many people looking for, help from their attorneys, and they're not getting it. And that is incredibly unfortunate. That, again, there's nothing that we can do other than listen non-judgmentally. And I think that's appreciated. But if the commission doesn't want to continue that, this is the time that we need to make those kind of decisions, and we can certainly just continue that service if people think that's appropriate. So,
Can I ask a question? You said you found one of the flyers or one of the placards that
what
posted in there?
This that's that around. It's a pretty. I think that one that came out. I think that in 2006.
Larry, would you maybe can clarify? You said you were saying the problems. Is it that the jail is understaffed to deal with that?
Well, see, it used to be where, actually, until a couple of months ago, they would, a staff member would take the inmate that wanted to talk with us to a room that had a phone in it. And then that inmate would then call the number, or actually the staff would dial the phone, give it to him, and then we would talk. But now apparently what they've tried to do is, they don't have enough people assigned that they can, do that, or at least we'll find out. But that's kind of the current problem now. The only other thing is that, it's I want to almost there. There's some issues with racial slurs being alleged, and which they have a complaint process, for instance, good complaint process, but if you're complaining against the jailer, and the jailer is the one that's looking at the complaint form, I'm not sure how valid a process that is. There's nothing we can do about it. But what I do, and when someone tells me, this is happening, I can say to our liaison, this is happening, but I say, there's allegations of these things. And I think that's healthy for us to have that role. I'm not sure, again, in situations where there's really difficult getting adequate staff, they like to hear that kind of stuff. But anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. Ellen, I don't know if you are still willing to do that role if we get it back in place. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be your backup, and I'm more than happy to continue.
Okay.
Start doing it.
Okay. And you and I are meeting at 9:00 on Monday then. Correct. With that staff.
So, Larry, just kind of one comment. Myself, I support the idea of listening to the complaints, even when we're not really able to do much about it, but sometimes just allowing somebody to vent is a help.
Exactly. And there's someone willing to listen. And with non-judgmental.
Yeah. Neutrally.
I do think that flyer, wherever it is,
It's right here, right?
could use a little bit of an update, emphasizing or limitations. Sure. But that we will, something like that. Okay, well, thank you very much, Larry.
Forwarding that email, I'll add it to the minutes. I just don't want to forget. Oh, okay. We could do like if you send it to my email, then I can add it as a, okay, to the minutes. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I would like
I'll
to
give you my meeting.
suggest, if there's no objection, that we do make a change in the order of the agenda so that we can accommodate our two guests that are with us. Would anybody have a problem with that? We'll come back to the message line in just a little bit.
Great.
So, Jamie, if you could give us the report on the Youth Human Rights Commission.
Yeah, super excited to have our guests here tonight. Good news. So, we'll kind of jump ahead to the Youth Human Rights Commission. We've been meeting regularly. We have a good solid group of 5, 6, you think? Folks who show up. Two of our key players are here in our kind of inaugural commission. We've had some good successes this semester. One being we have now a steady, consistent meeting space and time with now a Zoom link. So what I'd like to put out to other committee members, if you'd like to drop in, those who are on the ad hoc committee, the calendar invite now has a Zoom link attached to it. So you can come in that way. Also helps with students or with you being able to access that way. Do either of you want to share what we've been working on? Some of the things we've been working on in our meetings, or you want me to?
Sure, I can share.
Introduce yourself first.
My name is Rowan Estlin. I'm a senior at Academy of the Redwoods at the moment, and I have been participating in the Youth Human Rights Commission, trying to get it off the ground since I believe it was first presented to us last year.
Yeah.
Although we've had much more success this year. Right now, we're working mainly on developing a structure which the Youth Commission will function on, bylaws, how to run the whole thing, a network of ways to outreach, systems in place. If students can't make it, we have one student who will regularly be attending from the bus via Zoom, actually. And so having that Zoom link is really important. We're just setting things up and making connections, basically establishing ways for ourselves to function.
Yeah. Malik, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Malika De Leal. I'm a senior at Academy of the Redwoods, working with the Youth Human Rights Commission, just as much as Roni.
Yeah.
And I've been very much responsible for taking our notes for everything as well.
Good. Real important.
Yeah, for sure. So the group of students are primarily in charge of scheduling the meetings, running the meetings with some minor input. Jim and I have been attending pretty much weekly. I've missed a couple. Jim's gone in my absence. Working on creating the structure for bylaws, which will be then hopefully seeking out some feedback from Bird on, with that being your expertise, but we're making good progress on that. What else? We have the application. We have our first, we have received a $1,500 grant from the Humboldt County Youth Leadership Fund at Humboldt Area Foundation, which will help support the youth in attending and developing this more thoroughly. And also will support a listening session, a youth listening session, which we already have scheduled at the Teen Center in Eureka on the 3rd Thursday of April. So more about that will be coming out to all of you, and we'll be getting the word out as much as we can. And then they're also presenting to the AR community meeting about the commission and an effort to recruit more interest. One of the biggest challenges we have, honestly, is we have this incredible group of students who are amazing, and I have no doubt are going to get into college very soon and will be leaving us. So the goal is to get enough structure for continuity and a system and a process in place, and some folks recruited and selected so that there will be someone to carry on. They will be we'll be putting out applications. Hopefully we can put the link on our social media. We're gonna send it out on others. You're working on your own social media accounts. And we'll be putting that out. We can maybe cross link as well. And also put it on our, Jem and I talked about putting the application on our county website, as well as sending it to HCOE and other places so that it can really get distributed. And then they'll be reviewing applications and going through an application process, interviewing new candidates and making a selection for the remaining years. So super, super thankful to these two and some others who can't be here, who've been really taking the lead and carrying us through. What else? Anything else that we're forgetting? Questions?
Well, a lot of what you're doing is focusing on organizing, getting yourselves in a sense off the ground and getting started.
Mhm.
Have you given any thought to maybe are there some particular issues in the county that you might put on a little higher priority that you'd like to address as a Youth Human Rights Commission?
So right now we're really focusing on creating the commission because we can't function and address those things because we have standards on which to operate from. We kind of made that mistake over the summer. We tried to delve right into it, and that really didn't work out well for us. And so, especially with all of our members are going off to college, every single one. And so right now we really need to focus so those newcomers have shoulders to stand on to go forward. Because if we start doing things right now without proper systems in place, then those ahead of us will have less experience and won't be able to do those things.
Okay, thank you.
And so I think the listening session too will kind of have two goals. One will be to spread information and how can you get involved as part of the Youth Commission as a recruitment tactic, but also there'll be listening, like what are the issues affecting young people in this county, and an opportunity to share that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Sure.
I know at one time we thought about them as being a committee of the Human Rights Commission and thought that might not work because of the Brown Act and so forth. So what is the structure? Is it a club at the high school? Was that what your structure is?
So right now we're kind of in a state of limbo. We're developing as an independent organization. We're not tied to Academy for Redwoods. We are directly tied to you guys, but we're not like a committee. We're not legally tied to you guys, except being ad hoc. So right now we're developing solely as an independent organization that aims to operate in a formal manner, kind of like the commission. We will have bylaws. We'll ideally have a schedule ahead of time, an agenda. But we won't be an official 401c3 or subcommittee of you guys unless we hit some roadblock where it's necessary. Like if we need for some reason a personal building, or we need to apply for certain grants that require being a 401c3. But until then, we're going to be operating formally with regulations, but without laws.
When I read that you were doing a presentation at the Boys and Girls Club, it occurred to me that you might talk with them about being a project of Boys and Girls Club, and then you would fall under the 501c3, so you could get donations and so forth, but you would not have any of the Brown Act stuff that we have here, and I think that would be a perfect fit.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we selected that. Rowan's been involved with the teen court, right, in Fortuna, and I happened to be going to the one in Eureka, and we were kind of like, oh, light bulb.
Yeah.
This is a great match. And so while we're thinking of our commission as a partner to the Youth Commission, we'll provide support and structure and two-way information processes. The Boys and Girls Club is a nice home for providing opportunities to use space and get word out, and potentially when money and budgets come into play. A nice house. That's also the intent.
I think it would be a good fit.
And they're super excited when I talked to them about it. They were like, yes.
Yeah. Excellent. That's much better than trying to have another 501c3.
Any other questions?
Not really a question, but well, one is a question, I think, one is a thought. The question is, your group over at the Academy, how reflective is it of Humboldt County? I've heard you mention Fortuna, but do we any students that are actually from the southern part of the county?
We're not super reflective of the county, to be frank. One thing is we're all part of AR. And so AR targets a very specific demographic, usually people who are interested in pursuing things with, like pursuing their academics. That's one of the general populations of AR. And that's not the whole youth count, right? A lot of people aren't going to be having the same issues that we face. A lot of us are very wealthy at AR, more so probably than your average public school, because again, it's a lot of transportation, a lot of people, and people who have the time to care about all these college classes and all these difficult AR classes are the people who don't need to worry about those other things. So we're not the most representative of the county. You have people from Hydesville through Eureka or McKinleyville, but not much further.
Was Julian Garberville?
I think I'm not entirely sure where Julie is.
Yeah, I think he's Garberville.
I think he's Garberville.
So
I mean, we're not too representative here, just so you know, but I wondered. The other thought that I had is those of you that are graduating for shortly and going to college, if any of you are staying local. Okay, I'm moving.
That's unfortunate.
or any of you return.
But I just said is again on the Human Rights Commission, as far as I understand, there's no regulation on age as far as who can be a member, correct? Right.
I think most of them are
I
almost
think that is correct.
This group is.
So I mean, you could have someone 10 to 70 or 80 or whatever, right? So I mean, the idea would be perhaps some of these people would be ideal. Those who do stick around and don't play, maybe actually join a commission or at least attempt to join a commission. That's why I said it was a thought.
I think geographically we have some good Southern Humboldt representation, but other diversity factors are not so well addressed, and Eastern Humboldt is not even in it. But that's one of the reasons for bringing in Zoom. That's one of the reasons for bringing in, not making it an AR club, which limits it to AR students. So, I mean, I'm blessed with like this group of amazing go-getters who are going to change the world. But
Yeah, something we could learn to.
we'll broaden. The goal will be able
to do it.
The teen court will help, or the teen center will help with that too. This is no.
That's what I was going to comment on, the whole idea of affiliating in some way with the Boys and Girls Club. I think would change that demographic tilt that exists and could be a real asset.
And then the goal will be to have representation for the ad hoc committee to be a member of the youth commission coming to these meetings. May not always be the same one, but a representative to do the report in the future. And then also hear what we're talking about, take it back. So there's like this two-way piece. One thing that I would like us to think about as a commission is how do we sustain support for this group? And that, because I think it's important that like we have a liaison of some sort. Once we get to the point where it's functioning enough to maybe not have the ad hoc committee, we still need to have some sort of liaison structure in place to provide support and communication. I think is going to be important. So that would be my recommendation for that, but just to talk about in the future.
I guess.
Any other comments or questions?
I can make any of these meetings that you guys want me at to make reports as needed. I'm pretty free. I have a car.
And tell me how.
I'm from the CR, so I can make these meetings whenever. Yeah, also we'd love to have you guys on Zoom. Can you go? Oh, yeah, working lately.
Thank you.
We'll try to make that happen.
I'm also able to make any meetings saying everything is down
Great.
until I graduate.
Yeah.
It would be great, if we could get on the agenda after the April, maybe after the April listening session, a presentation, the outcome of that. Would be really cool.
And maybe other members would be able to attend by Zoom,
Many members.
our meeting.
Good.
Who work.
Yeah.
That's why they're not here. We are unemployed for now. Right. You're not unemployed? No.
This don't work on Thursday.
I'm unemployed. But many members just have transportation issues living in Beverville or which Zoom, of course, or just hardworking. So that's why we have such a small selection here.
Yeah. It's a good career. though.
Thank you
Doing
guys
good
for
work.
being here tonight, and thank you for the report.
Thank you for having us.
See you again soon.
First
Thursday, right? Of every month.
First Thursday of every month. It's on your calendar. I'll see you next week.
Have a good evening. Okay, we'll go back to the agenda and the message line reports. I don't have the names that go with these, so I hope you know who you are. January 1st through the 15th.
That was me.
All right.
And it was generally pretty quiet, although I know I drove Larry crazy because I had two crazy people that kept calling and, I let him know and, we were aware, but, again, it kind of goes back to what Larry's talking about. Partially with the impasse is, what we do because we have some of these guys that, they get on and they talk until the phone shuts down. And
then they call back.
and then, and in general, you don't really know that there's really anything you can do other than what you mentioned earlier that we're an ear to them. I think the only concern I was thinking again, maybe related to that, well, I think it is related to it, is that if this is going to continue in the future, and I know the county will sit there and talk about money issues, money woes and whatever, but whether that's an issue or not, they need to do something as far as, other languages. I mean, we saw that at our special meeting. We need to have a line maybe that's strictly for Spanish speakers or something, or at least have something from the county translation services that would be readily available so that if someone does call on the line and they feel much more comfortable speaking in something other than English, they can do that, and then we can get a quick translation. Maybe it will take a while. Sounds like our, trafficking gal that it may be years down the line, but at least get it, going. 'Cause I think about our budget.
We can talk about that when we're meeting on Monday. Excellent.
But otherwise, like I said, I had kind of anticipated it was going to be a quiet 2 weeks, but and it really generally was because there's only a couple of people that sort of kept me busy. So
Okay. Well, do we recall who had the 16th through the 30th?
I think it was Carol.
Carol, so we won't have that report tonight. I can report on the first 6 days of February. It was basically nothing until yesterday. And I referred to that earlier in the meeting that basically all the calls I had, which was 9, referred to a billboard posted south of Arcata. And it was basically a pro-Zionist billboard, which a number of people took offense at. And of course, this is one of those situations where there's really no authority that we have to do anything about it, except perhaps to recommend that the offended individuals contact the sign company or the city in which the billboard exists to see if proper sign posting or building codes had been followed. Really wasn't sure how that was going to work. I assumed that the sign fell within the city of Arcata. And one of the people followed my instruction and called the city of Arcata. They said, no, it's in the county. That location.
Well, it might be because it's on that, freeway. byway, whatever.
Possibly so.
They consider.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is it's unfortunate we can't really do anything about it. But I tried to offer some direction to the people who would call. Some were very irate. Yes, Larry.
Well, is it something that we could, you do a rapid response and at least put the Human Rights Commission,
Just to jump in, I don't think it's really necessary. It's just, yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's free speech. It's just that if any of you are bullfighting, I'm not, but it's like somebody waving a red, to tick everybody off who's going to be ticked off by it.
Yeah.
So,
I haven't seen it, just like I really.
yeah.
The other thing that was related.
Freeway when you're leaving town over there, it's between Samoa and G, but it's right at Samoa. You can't miss it.
If you're looking to your right, it's Canada.
The huge billboard. And like I said, it's just there it's to provoke anger with people who disagree. But they're not saying anything that in essence that's really rude, or I don't see it as anything other than free speech. And Lost Coast Outpost is having a terrific time with people ripping into each other. Oh, yeah, sure. Maybe they should do a poll.
Were there actually 9 different people or just 9 calls?
9 different callers. And related to that, and the subject of free speech, again, not much we can do about it, but one of the callers did also mention a flag being flown or displayed on the 4th floor of this building. And I thought we had dealt with that question back in August. And so I assured the caller that I would follow up on it. And I have written an email to the district attorney asking for a copy of her policy on display of posters, flags, etc., to see if this particular display of a flag falls into her policy or if her policy needs to be strengthened. But again, it may be a free speech issue that we need to learn about. I asked for a response, and I think we will get it. Sure. And then we'll know what to do. Good work. Thanks. It's great. Okay, that concludes the records. Now we do need a volunteer for February 16th through the 28th.
I'll take that one.
Right. Okay. And March 15th, or 1st through the 15th.
I'll do it.
Larry. And March 31st.
16th through 31st. I can do it.
16th. Oh, thank you. So Ryan was so.
I'll just do it on March 31st.
No.
Well, Larry's got it. He doesn't have to call it himself. Well, okay, I guess we're not doing that now.
Well, hopefully by then we will again.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully have that figured out. Okay, next item on the agenda is a Sanctuary Ordinance Committee report, and there is something to report this month.
There is? Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what you want. As a summary, all I can say is that I was delighted to the fact that we had, I think, about 75 people all told that were involved. So that was very, very nice.
That was good word
there.
Great.
I also thought it was nice that it was, largely populated by people who friendly and not obnoxious. That was always kind of a little bit of a worry there that someone was going to make an ugly statement and cause some grief. I did feel a bit of that it was, more of the sheriff's show because obviously everybody had lots of questions to the sheriff, and sadly our DA, although I was very pleased that our DA was able to show up, that on short notice she said, I'm going to be at a meeting, but I'll come on, and I thought fantastic, and so that was very good of her to be there with it. I do know I got a lot of good information, and I did mention, with commissioner reports or whatever, but on the Facebook page, if any of you have been looking at it, I don't know if you want to put it up or not. Probably don't mess up.
Yeah,
But if you guys go on Facebook, I think we're now being followed by I think 180 odd people. We've been actually getting some people that have actually clicked on it, sharing it, or I'm doing something. Because I've been posting, I posted the video with the DA, because the last video that we posted on our site from a meeting was from 2021, so that was a little scary. And I don't really know quite whether I really want to bother going back and trying to find old videos. I mean, they're already on the Access channel or whatever, so I don't think they need to be duplicated. But I did start posting a lot of the informational stuff that they presented and some of the additional stuff that I have had. And because I'm still connected with the university has had a number of events, speakers that have come related to it. Matter of fact, I don't think I got the okay yet. I put in a call, so it would look real clean as part of my summation over here, but I don't think there's a call back yet on it. But I did get a message today from the college. I mean, everybody did who was at the college. It basically reads all individuals in the U.S. have constitutional rights regardless of citizenship status. Join us Friday, tomorrow, from 9:30 to 10:30 on Zoom and empower yourself with knowledge. And this is being put on, I believe, the organization CHIRLA.org. And I'm going to post it, but I asked ahead of time if there was going to be any concern about that. I haven't heard back, but I can't imagine. I know I've already posted some of the information already, and several hotlines, and I'm going to include the 988 information as soon as I get that. I think I'm going to actually put the 988 information and I don't remember if I have the hotline for the trafficking, but if you've ever been on our site, it's broken up. On the first part of it talks about, we're a government agency, and it gives our address here in Eureka, and it gives, I think mainly just the call number that we're using right now. And what I thought I would do, because I can't edit it and add other phone numbers, and I thought that probably would be a real good place to put 988, the specific bold that this is for this only, and maybe the other one for human trafficking. So it'll be just one more place for that information to be there. But that's starting to take shape. So I'm real pleased, like I said, that, this has gone somewhere. I still think we're going to need to, I'll talk about it, I think, when we get to the homeless one, but I really do think we need to kind of maybe get together maybe with the League of Women's Voters, because I know that's going to be the other thing that you passed out, the supplement to the agenda. But I think we need to do more follow-up, because, one of the things that I didn't say at our special meeting was, I do understand the way constitutional law works in this country, that, the Constitution is number one, and then underneath it, to those of you that need a little quick lesson, is treaties and federal statutes. And up until about 1900, treaties were supreme, but then the Supreme Court and some of the decisions in the early 20th century said the federal statutes still hold the treaties. So, it creates some interesting problems in states like California, New Mexico, Arizona, because one of the treaties that's a very big deal, always was in my class when I was teaching history, was the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, because that ended the Mexican War, and it gave Mexicans who stayed in the United States special rights because of the unusual situation. And so I've always told that to people, because when we had, was it 187, some of these propositions that we've had in our state, speaking English only, and I said, can't do that. We have a treaty that basically says Spanish language, Spanish culture, traditions need to be upheld, whatever. So the other thing I was going to mention on the site too, by the way, that I added, and I hope to do more, I started putting stuff up, as I said, so people could check out if they had concerns. And I did real brief, and I hope I'm not going to embarrass anybody or piss anybody off, but I did, this Google Translate. So I took the main lines and I had them translate to Spanish and Hmong, and I put those translations on there as well.
Oh,
So I figured because, we want to start addressing and make sure that we're encouraging other people and, and
Even if they're baby steps, they're steps.
yeah, oh yeah, that way we, let people know. But what I'd like to do, like I said, is this, and also, with the homeless, I'll kind of jump a little bit ahead of what you have on the agenda here. But I really do think in the very near future we need to get together as not the Human Rights Commission per se, but as either a committee or just a volunteer group of this group, and with county people and local people to hash out how we respond to some of the issues that are affecting our community. Because, we've done this homeless business for quite some time. It's still a crisis. It hasn't gone away. And in fact, according to our local governments, it's gotten worse recently. So it's like, okay, so we've spent millions of dollars and we're maybe not even in the same place anymore. We're actually backpedaling. And as far as, the sheriff and everything, it's all nice and good that they tell you that, we're not having a relationship with ICE, but we do know that if ICE comes in over here and push comes to shove, our local, officers are going to have to acquiesce to whatever the federal authorities, they're going to have final say. So again, how are we going to deal with that as a community? Just, people are very concerned, and they should be. And and because we represent the whole county and all the people in it, and we have to address the concerns of people who do have maybe valid concerns about some of the people that are in our community that may not be legal. Because, I understood that the reasoning behind it. People that are showing up here in Humboldt County that had a long relationship with drug running and everything. I'm sure most of us have no problem having those people being exited out of our community and out of our country. So, how do we work that out to make sure that, because I think I mentioned that with the homeless, issue earlier, that I thought we needed to address it and make changes that would be effective because, after a while, people get so sick and tired of homelessness that they're willing to accept, some rather vindictive type of solutions. So if we're not finding better solutions than we are, we're going to get some really bad solutions. And I don't want, like I said, I'm wanting to stay away from crossing the line of getting too political, but that's what we're facing as a country right now. That the old ways don't work. We better find some new ways before people decide to, advocate for some rather negative ways.
You mentioned the League of Women Voters. At our board meeting Tuesday night, the board voted again to support what the Board of Supervisors did with the statement about the sanctuary. And that I don't know. I don't think it's going to be publicized in any way. But what I'm wondering is if we, as the Human Rights Commission, should do something through the rapid response or whatever, endorsing it and saying how pleased we are that the board did this and asking for people to sign on to it. In some way. Is that something we can do?
I just shared that on the screen. This is the final wording as adopted by the Board of Supervisors.
So I got introduced to this. And then I had samples of all these I tell you what, Toy, I was looking at mine too. Quite popular, like you.
I'm sorry, caller,
Like, it's called, what's the Montoya part? Well, yeah, but it's the, I just, I was, and they were like, oh, dude.
Oh, come on now. Transfer. Oh, it's really strange. I don't have the ability to mute from the.
thought that was Lisa, but
No, there wasn't.
she was on earlier.
And then certainly still sounds like it.
No, it didn't.
Sound.
Well, I'm sorry, caller.
They're not there yet.
You're not here any longer, but we didn't understand what your comments were. It was pretty garbled. At any rate, back to the subject. I personally think we should reference this finished copy in a rapid response. I would be happy to put that together.
I think we should do that. And I think
Good idea.
as we do that, I think we should compliment the Board of Supervisors. I was really very impressed. They had read what we sent to them and they had paid attention to it. Some of the supervisors had talked with people like the sheriff and other employees to get feedback from them. And they did make a few suggestions that did not change what we were trying to say. And I was really very impressed that they came up with a unanimous decision to support it. And we need to tell them that we're really happy that they did this. I also got the impression that they had their attitude toward the Human Rights Commission is changing. They see us as more important than they had seen us in the past. So I think the more we can and develop that with them, the better it is.
I agree. I hate to throw any cold water on a nice presentation, but I had an occasion to speak with one of the supervisors this evening before this meeting. And although that person voted in favor, they voted in favor because they felt it didn't really change anything. And that person is entitled to their opinion.
Let me guess which one now.
You won't be guessing who it was. But at any rate, it did pass unanimously, and it's a step in the right direction.
Yes, and it is a small step, but it is moving in the right direction. And that's what I think we need to do.
Is there any objection to me putting together a rapid response letter to go with this as an attachment for the public?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, good.
Jim, I have a couple of things that, they came to mind through Guy's presentation related to the follow-up of the last meeting. I'm not sure where to contribute those.
Well, not knowing exactly where you're going. I don't-
Well, they're related to follow-up that I've received personally from
To the sanctuary.
the sanctuary meeting.
Well, then go ahead.
Is it okay to do it now?
Sure.
So I was contacted through someone who was here, recognized me. We have a mutual friend who works in the Spanish-speaking community. And so they were connecting them with me. We haven't talked yet, but they felt pretty strongly following our meeting, super thankful of that meeting and impressed and left feeling really good about it, and also just wanted to support and help us in identifying a new location for our meetings, and are offering the Jefferson Community Center as an option, and also support us discussing options or strategies for having all of our meetings translated. Having a translator available, whether that's like, here's the agenda. If you'd like to attend and have a translator, please let us know. Whatever that is. So I'm happy to meet with that person and talk to them. I haven't done that yet, or connect them with Guy, or do both, or I don't know what that would look like. And then also another comment that came to me, and this has just been, really I've had 4 different conversations about this, increased racism in the schools, the elementary schools across the county, and kids not being held accountable by administration in those schools. Which makes me think like that might be a future. It feels like we should say something or do something about that, but I don't know what we can do.
I would encourage you to go ahead and communicate with those folks.
Because we did get a name. I don't know if it's the same one, and I don't want to do it public, but
Yeah.
that name at the end of the meeting, somebody to do translation for us, and maybe the same person. I don't know, but I did give that name to Jim at the meeting.
Yes, I've got the complete list.
Okay.
Great.
One other thing, real quick, and I hope I'm not cutting anybody off. The note that you have printed, with the Human Rights Commission, but you also mentioned the Indigenous resident, shot, killed. I'm assuming we're talking about the Hoopa case that Lisa brought up quite a number of months ago.
Yes,
Because this has been dragging on
I'm
since
trying to bring it up when I'm not having.
That's okay. But just so you know, because I think I mentioned it at the last meeting, and I apologize, I didn't bring that paperwork back again. I did talk to Sheriff Hansel, and apologies to Sheriff Hansel, but being a good educator, you don't go with one source. So when I talked to Sheriff Hansel, he said, it's still being investigated. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's been 14, 15 months. How long does it take to do an investigation? So I decided, well, I'll call the Attorney General's office. And I called the Attorney General's office and got a bit of a runaround. Finally, I got information they gave me and took me to the right site where they show it. And there's 20 odd shootings in the state that are still currently being investigated. And the one in Hoopa is hopefully going to be decided fairly soon, because as the list goes down, it seems that the average time that these cases get analyzed is 17 months, and I think we're already there. So I'm hoping that means that we're done. And if you've never seen that site, if you're interested, I can email you the link to it. They have all the photographs and all the autopsy reports and all the. It's not gruesome, but it's not particularly so. It's not, Hollywood style. It's the real thing. And, I couldn't mention that, I guess, in our speakers this evening, because, we're talking about the 988, and I was looking at it, and the statistics I got from the police when I asked the sheriff, who's in jail, you realize our native population, I think, is like 2-3% of the population of the county, but they're over 20% jail population. So, and that's kind of the mental health program system that we have over here. We don't have the right personnel, so the best place for them is jail, of course. And I'm being cynical in case anybody does or listen to that later, okay? But it is kind of frightening with that. Anyway,
Okay, well, we have bounced around a little bit. So I'm going to try to bring us back to, I think cultural awareness is covered by comments made earlier, and technology as well. So the next item on the agenda would be free speech versus hate crimes. And Rick,
Okay.
what would you like to report?
Well, we are meeting generally about the first and third Wednesdays of each month, and we have now formalized a date in which we will have the workshop. Mary Dominguez will be the one who will be presenting it, and that's on April 26th at the Warfinger Center. We right now are seeking funds for, I think with Molly's support, but certainly Bird has put together a fairly good budget and is now sending it out to apply for funds to cover some of the costs that are going to be accrued at the workshop. we're also developing lists of invitees and of facilitators who will be present at that. And well, and as I said, we're applying for funds. So right now we're in the process of trying to get closer to getting ready and getting out the nuts and bolts, even things like looking at some of the food service and so on. We're making arrangements for those as well.
Questions for Rick?
No, just to say, I think we've also established that we're going to be looking to have a total of 32 participants from 16 different agencies. We're looking at to have 2 participants from each of these 16 agencies. We are developing a list of the potential agencies that we want to invite to this. I think we've got like 24 information, so you know, have to be some whittling down, but yeah.
Well, and folks will send to me their choices, their top 8 choices. I'll put together a kind of consolidated list, send that out for us just to kind of see. Are there some that really stand out that we really like to do, others that maybe initially seem like a good idea, but that we won't follow up on. So yeah, there's a lot of details that are going on with the preparation.
That's in April.
That's April 26th.
Okay, so when you guys have a poster or something, send that to me, because then I will also post it on our site.
Yeah, absolutely. We would like to
Well, I
get the
think
information out.
when we have the letter that explains what it is that we're sending out to the people we're inviting, we probably should let you know that.
Actually, I think Molly sent out a
Yeah, she sent out a letter. I've got it, and I think you all should have a copy of that letter. So we'll address that next meeting.
So, go ahead. Jim, you said 485. Is that what they're charging us, or are they?
No, that is what it would normally be.
And they're giving it to us.
They are.
Okay, so I'll adjust the budget for that, but
The only variable there would be is if we use the kitchen.
oh, okay.
What use of the kitchen that could
They could
change.
then bump it up.
Yes,
Okay.
but at the moment, it's 0.
Okay, all right. I do have a question though. As we ask for these funds, we have to give a name and an address to have funds sent. And do we have a treasurer, or is it going through you, Jim?
It could go through me, but we do have a treasurer, Carol.
Oh, okay. So,
Mailing address, perhaps, if that's involved, probably could use my mailing address.
your personal?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. But Carol is the name. I know for the one that I will be dealing with, the ask for the key person. So,
It almost feels like you're sending it to your address. It should be your name. and
yeah,
then give it to-
actually, you probably should be
As the chair.
Should be the courthouse.
it should be Jim at the courthouse.
Yeah, 825 5th Street.
And just have it.
Okay, your name and Humboldt.
And
the
Human Rights Commission.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We need to be sure we have that whenever we apply.
We are going to run out, I'm going to run out of battery shortly on this.
Me too.
So I don't want to put off.
Adjourn, is this what you're suggesting?
No, I would like to get to unfinished business number 12 is and my apologies. I was trying to bring up a shared document so we could all look at what Bird had recommended in changes to the document you have a paper copy of, and I didn't have success. So if we can move on to new business, this is, as Guy was saying, this particular item has been hanging around for quite some time. It started out as a letter to the tribes, but I'm beginning to wonder if the direction of that letter might be more effective if it was written to the Board of Supervisors? And if it is, how would we change the language in the document? So, having said that,
Well, I did give you a suggestion and.
yes, you did, and we should discuss it.
And I was too serious about it because, you know, for years, I have been a union negotiator. Haven't been over at Humboldt State, thank God, because it's a painful job, but I was a union negotiator for a long, long time. And the one thing I learned, I don't know if this is family time, so I'm not sure I can be as gross as I was, but my first case, we had a arbiter that came over there, and I was brought in as part of the negotiation. And when I came in, the arbiter said, "Who the hell is this?" And he used a few more expletives over there, and he explained that I was connected to whatever, and then he quieted it down, and I participated in it. But basically what I was told by the arbiter years ago, we're talking in the 1980s, was that, you know, you ask for more than you want. You don't ask for what you want, because that's not negotiating. So we feel the same way dealing with the board of supervisors and these people. Stop asking for what you hope to get. Ask for a lot more so that they will negotiate, and maybe you'll get exactly what it is that you want. And so one of the things I suggested, and I don't think Jim passed it on to all the rest of you, is I thought, you know, talk to the board about expanding the board to include a maybe rotating tribal member on the board of supervisors. I know they would think that completely and totally out of their mind, but what the hell? You know, because for years they don't do it. Well, I mean, it's either that or declare these people sovereign. You have to deal with them like we would with any other sovereign nation, you know, and stop all the baloney that we seem to be having for years and years and years over here. I mean, it just seems, you know. So
My initial response is it's not opposition, it's a question, and I was talking to Rick about it before the meeting started. Are there counties in the state that have more than 5 supervisors? And if so, what is the number? Does it have to be an uneven number in order for them not to tie up on issues?
I don't know. That would be interesting. But I mean, like I said, you know, we could look up and find information in state codes or whatever, you know, because I mean, if nothing else, if it had to be that, we could suggest 2 members. And really,
what's the criteria for the other member?
Tribal and Hispanic.
Of course, the rabbit hole you go down. And,
Exactly. And then
all the other.
we're opening up a nice door here.
Yeah.
Tribal piece is different than nation.
Larry.
Well, I was saying, I think that's a very good idea, except these tribes, historically, I know,
Yeah.
you know, they don't get together. I was the first coordinator for the Consortium of Coastal Indian Rancherias when the Indian Child Welfare Act was passed in that. I think it was early 80s. And I learned a real good lesson about, you know, dynamics of tribal interactions. And I'll tell you, if we could find a Native American in this community that could represent all of the different aspects of very tribes, it would be totally great. But I think if we had a rotating, you know, where, you know, each of the tribe had a shot at that role, I think it would be great. Yes, there, you know, it's like our, you know, our statement about the you know, whose land this is, you know, it would really be great.
Individual sovereign nations, they're not one sovereign nation. Right.
I mean, when the board isn't actually listening to our meetings now or later, but the idea of it is that, you know, going back to what my argument told me, since you negotiate, ask for more. Because we've been asking, grand jury has been asking for what, 5 years or more to have this liaison, and it doesn't happen. So let's ask for more, you know, and maybe they'll sit there and they'll finally settle for the liaison, but with the tribes, I don't know. Or maybe they'll shock the heck out of us and they'll vote 3-2. to actually have a rotating member. I don't know. Either that or we could ask, I mean, I can be real facetious now. We can ask Denmark if they want to take over Humboldt County.
Somebody's watching.
I see Zoom use, but I think that's Lisa.
It is. I'm a little, I'm very concerned that we're going to lose our meeting here. I'm wondering if, because
Why don't you switch the host over to the other one? Plug it into, and then just there.
okay, how do we do that?
Do you want to do it?
So, maybe,
Just go to the participant list.
I can just move over there.
Yeah.
So April 26th. Where's it going? That's right. So that's okay. Oh, sorry.
It's dying and it won't let you.
Office of Emergency Services after the last
If we make it co-host,
earthquake, and then of course they.
then it will, so that'll be co-host too. So we have,
Over there.
Response.
Yeah, I mean, you can stay there till it dies.
Just screwing around.
Okay,
It's quite
till it dies.
Yeah.
At any rate, getting back to how would you like to proceed if this should become a letter to the Board of Supervisors as opposed to the tribes? Should we reconsider this at the next meeting, or do you?
I would recommend that, then maybe have a draft that we can look at. Supervisors as the target of
So
the.
please keep your copies, offer whatever suggestions you want to me.
Jim, I do think the language that's an old version of that letter. And it had a reference to somebody getting killed in it. And I think it's at least 2 years old.
Okay, well, we're going to. We're going to submit this back to the members to take a fresh look at it. We can update whatever is out of date and any new ideas that we think need to be added, with the idea being that this would be submitted to the Board of Supervisors when it was ready. Am I correct?
yes, and I think that is much more in line with what our charge is. We make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors.
Right. So I would encourage everybody to keep your copies. They may be initially outdated, but we can work through that process during the course of the next month, including any ideas for restructuring the Board of Supervisors. And that's a serious topic that we ought to discuss. Okay, sorry to.
I hope that the commission is not disbanded over the next year.
You don't have to worry about that. My term ended at the end of January. I haven't until heard back from them. So
We're hoping you're not going to. Okay. The only additional item then that we would need to cover would be new business, which I had put in a kind of a general statement. Further steps warranted for protection of legal citizens from illegal actions regarding immigration. I don't know if there is any action that you would suggest or would like to discuss, but that is the next item on the agenda.
Or no, what can we do?
well, I think I mentioned it earlier. I really do think we need to not meet as a commission. I think we need to do what we just did on the special meeting, but not actually do it as even the commission, to organize a meeting of the community. Get, law enforcement, the board, but get the general community together that we can meet, maybe have select specific people, we could somewhat contain how the meeting goes, but obviously also invite the public on how we address some of the questions that people have, the concerns that people have, dealing with, again, this protection of people here. I mean, there's a lot of information put out right now on what you can do. And we have the board, making a pronouncement that they still support Measure K, which are kind of, I think, obligated to do, seeing how the population voted for it. I don't think so in spite of whatever one supervisor may or may not be thinking about it. But by the same token, like I've said, it's all very nice. I mean, I hope, again, I'm not going to anger anybody, but, it's what I mentioned to you when we first adopted this language at the beginning of the land acknowledgement, that I just thought, nice words, doesn't really mean a whole hell of a lot. And the same kind of thing when you have sanctuary thing, but there's nothing behind it other than the fact that our good feelings that we want to do that. How do we protect some of our citizens, especially the ones that are doing so much for our community that may or may not be citizens yet, but they're not criminals, they're not rapists, they're not anything other than hardworking people who want to become Americans. And maybe not, maybe some of them don't. They want to work here, just like back in the days of the gold rush. They want to make some money so they can go back home. We don't know, but I mean, I think we need to meet it as a community because our group, unfortunately, is not very representative of the community.
That's true. I wonder, would we be able to do something like talk to Centro del Pueblo about 4 commissioners, so we don't have a quorum, but 4 commissioners going to one of their meetings and listen and try to answer questions and get ideas of where they are and so forth. I think that would be one. I'm sure Brenda would be happy to put something together for us. And also, Marianne Heitken has English Express, and she has people come to talk to, her students about things in the community. And that might be something that we could send a couple of people there. And there may be other areas where they set up the meetings where, they have the people coming who might be concerned, and then we are there to listen and to answer questions if we can.
I think it's an excellent idea. I think the only additional thing I said, that's the only reason why I mentioned the community, is I want people to make sure that we're addressing other people's concerns in the community. Because I mean, I certainly understand the immigrant question and their concerns. But what about, other people in the community that, they hear all this stuff and rumor, innuendo, whatever, and they're concerned, and they're at least honestly concerned. They're not disruptors, they're not, bigots, necessarily, but because they hear all the negativity, we need to make sure we're addressing their concerns as well.
Mm-hmm. Or there may be other groups that we need to think about too, to speak to.
We used to put up posters. We had posters that we put all over the county announcing the Human Rights Commission and telling people if they had a human rights concern to contact us, and we gave a phone number and really had those on telephone poles throughout the county. That's the way. And again, it's sort of like people calling our phone number. The numbers have really significantly decreased over time. There's people that really don't know that we're even here. And we definitely need to figure out some outreach, outreach. Well, let's put it this way. I will reach out to Centro de Pueblo and LatinaNet
With the,
I can't hear anything.
Can you hear us now, Lisa?
Okay, we're about to wrap up. Hello.
I couldn't hear, and I wanted to find out, I know, I missed part of, the discussion about I would say what's going on with Hispanic people right now being kind of driven out and the sanctuary communities in Humboldt. What was discussed about that? Sorry, I wasn't able to hear that.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that you weren't able to speak at that particular time. Unless there is any additional business, I think, considering the condition of our tech abilities, maybe we should adjourn for the evening. Yes. Alex moved that we adjourn. Okay, it's moved and seconded that we adjourn for the evening, and we shall. Thank you very much.